Well, hello, Andy. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Oh, living the dream here in Orlando, Florida. It's a big day for the show. We have a big, humongous company on. Are you excited for the show, Andy?
I'm excited. I'm very excited to learn more about RWS, and their plethora of companies and services.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting. There's been a trend in the industry of just companies that are merging together and forming bigger entities, and kind of creating turnkey service. So we're gonna be talking about that in just a moment. So we're really excited about that. A little housekeeping note: our next show is going to be pretty quick. Actually, it's going to be Monday the 24th at our normal time, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific time, and that's going to be with Donnelly Williams at Alltech Integrated Solutions. I've gotten to know Donnelly over the past year or so, and that's going to be a really fun show. He's worked on a lot of interesting projects on the engineering side, technical side. So we're going to be talking and diving into that. So please make sure you set your watch to that show, and we're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I had the pleasure of having dinner with him a few weeks ago, and really great guy, really interesting, and has a really unique perspective on the industry, as well as I think one of those great stories about how he got into the industry as well. So I'm looking forward to him telling that story.
That's gonna be great. But without further ado, why don't we go ahead and show a little video about what RWS has been up to.
Conception and ideation, design and creativity,
innovation and artistry,
installation and operation.
From concept to completion.
We are 4 powerhouse companies with one mission: to elevate experiences everywhere.
We are RWS Global.
All right.
And here they are.
And here they are. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're so excited to have you on.
Hey. Thanks for having us.
Yes, excited to be here.
All right. So we have, why don't we go, let's go around the room. I don't want to mess up any of your names here. So why don't we go and just talk a little bit about maybe a 15-second intro for each of you, and then we'll dive in a little bit deeper. How's that go? How's that sound?
Great.
All right, Randy Smith.
Yeah. Hey, Randy Smith. I'm with JRA in Cincinnati. I've been with JRA for 35 years, and I've worked on all kinds of projects, big to small: Ferrari World Abu Dhabi, National Comedy Center, children's museums, branded attractions.
All right, well, welcome. And then we have Monica.
Hey, everyone. Good morning from Los Angeles. I'm Monica Miklas. I'm the Senior Manager of Creative Direction on the land side of things at RWS. Prior to RWS, I worked in immersive theater as a creative producer, writer, and performer. And I also had sort of a dual track career as an event producer at nonprofits. At RWS, I focus on immersive experiences, as you might guess. But this year, that's involved a lot of haunts, a lot of holiday, and a lot of illuminated nighttime experiences, in addition to some performer-driven experiences that we'll talk about today.
All right. And then we have Paul Finn.
Hey everyone, I'm Paul Finn. I head up the music and media department over at TED here in London. My role goes from creating everything digital content wise, so music right through to media, character animation, VFX, all the really fun stuff, as I like to put it.
All right, well, welcome to the show. And then, of course, Kevin here.
Hello, everybody. Kevin Cresco, Senior Vice President of Business Development and Marketing at RWS Global, which oversees all of our subsidiaries, including ARC, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But I get to collaborate with all of our fine team members and talent members around the globe, which is over 300 full-time team members and over 8,000 talented performers, technicians, and artists, bringing our imaginary worlds to life.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I just want to dive right in, and like I said before the show started, I was like, I think off the top of my head, one of the things that I'm most curious about is what is RWS? So what does RWS stand for? The letters, the actual letters.
Well, I can take that. I hope this will be another a trivia question at IAPA this year. But RWS stands for Ryan William Stana, who founded the company in 2003 out of the corner of his New York City apartment, with the goal to create moments of surprise and delight for audiences around the world. And today we're going to talk about how we do that.
I'm really excited. That's cool. Well, then moving on from that, now that we know, so let's talk about the sort of the huge zeitgeist that you guys have built now with all the different companies and services. You know, the sort of the end-to-end sort of services that you provide now. Let's get into that. Like, what is RWS Global now?
Yeah, so when Ryan founded the company, he really wanted to create a first moment of interaction where kids could experience entertainment for the first time. A lot of people think Broadway is the place to be. A lot of people don't have the ability to go see live theater, and theme parks became that avenue to allow people to dream big. And our goal at RWS is to create moments of inspiration for children and families everywhere around the world. And with that intention of really igniting the inspiration, Ryan wanted to create a career path for performers in the industry, which really doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So performers could come to RWS and work at a theme park, work at one of our hotels and or resorts, perform on a cruise ship, and then be seen by our casting agency ARC for TV, film, commercial, and Broadway. It's been a very, very successful program for us at RWS in being able to really provide the best of the best talent to all of our partners. And we wanted to create that same synergy for our clients. So we welcomed JRA to the RWS family a few years ago to really create that client trajectory. So not only are you getting performers and technicians that can have a career with RWS, but now our partners can see everything from a full master plan with all of the designers at JRA, and see that through to operations with the services we provide both at RWS and at TED. So I like to say JRA is creating the worlds that RWS and TED play in. And with the acquisition of TED a year and a half ago, not only did we add additional services to our design and performance places, we really did create that turnkey solution. So TED has now brought multimedia, which Paul will bring to life throughout this hour to us. So we have that full in-house capabilities of multimedia and animation, as well as the actual outfits of those technical pieces. So providing the lights, the gear, the audio gear, and the video piece of it. But one of the other things that we've also brought to our services is fitness and well-being. So we're providing very theatrical and interactive fitness and well-being programming for cruise ships, for resorts, even retail centers right now. It's definitely on the trend, well-being and fitness programs. And then also, one of the things we look at, especially Monica's team, is what are those ROI opportunities that we're bringing to clients to drive revenue throughout the experiences. So with the addition of TED and their retail and merchandising team, we're easily complementing that. So we're creating now a lot of bespoke merchandise for our partners around the globe to elevate what that experience is and allow guests to take home what I call those emotional souvenirs.
Well, that was a great explanation. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, Monica, anything to add to that? Your name was invoked in that about the client trajectory in general.
Yes, I think that one of the things we've seen in the last couple of years with TED and JRA joining the RWS Global family is that we are able to think collaboratively across all of the companies within the family to deliver experiences for clients. So just recently, Randy and I have been working very closely together on an experience with a team from TED that's actually going to execute the experience. Paul is actually involved too. So you've kind of got everybody from that project team on this call. And that's just one example of a project that pulls from the kind of the creative specialties of all the different teams that we have.
Great. Well, does anybody else want to speak to that? Any other things to add about that before we then move on to the next question?
I mean, I think, what's been great for me in particular, I'm usually at a master plan level or at an initial creative, and sometimes we'll get into a concept that, we don't always know exactly how the theater part's going to work or the live portion. And by having TED and RWS in there, we can really now start to get more of that information and get it kind of baked into the early concepts instead of having to wait later on. And that's been great for us.
Yeah, I think from our side as well, we've really been able to just expand our ideation of anything we're working on. So it's been great to be able to reach out to different people within our global system now and be able to work with them together to create better and greater ideas for everything we do.
Well, along those lines, you guys talk about your talent trajectory with the artists, with the casting ARC company. Can you talk a little bit more about how that global casting and recruitment, can help people progress their career through the various opportunities that you guys have?
Sure. So like I mentioned earlier, we acquired Binder Casting about 6 or 7 years ago to really create that entire performer trajectory at RWS. And recently we rebranded Binder Casting to ARC with the welcoming of Duncan Stewart, a leading casting agent in New York for theater, commercial, TV, and film. So our global casting team, based out of New York City as well as at the TED office in London, is really all about connecting talent to deep, diverse individuals for those avenues. And we decided to rebrand ARC because at the end of the day, RWS, JRA, TED, we're all about story, right? And every story has an arc, and we really want to find the best storytellers to bring the stories that JRA are creating to life when we're looking at the overall theme park world or creating our new retail destination center or hotel or a resort. But what's been great, especially now with the challenges of finding great talent and also finding staffing in general is because we have those career pathways for performers as well as technicians. We haven't had much trouble in the recruitment avenue to be able to bring those worlds to life through engaging performances, whether it be your traditional theater style or your immersive experience piece.
That's great. Well, and kind of talking about the full package that you're all able to deliver. You're kind of a unique company. Well, definitely unique, not kind of, because you're able to turnkey projects and sustain them over periods of time. Entertainment, and then versus a company like that's a vendor company that's designing a project. After the park opens, they may be basically handed off to operations, and then that relationship may come to an end. So, how does RWS stay active on an ongoing basis with your partners? And whoever would like to answer that.
I can field that. So it really depends on the client. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that even though we are a one-stop shop, it's not one size fits all. So every time we engage with a new client or even in ongoing relationships with legacy clients, we are always listening and always evaluating, what do you need? Let's make this suite of things that we have to offer you work for you. So with a given client, sometimes we may be sort of handing over a project that they're going to operate with sort of occasional check-ins. A lot of other times we are managing the team on site with a company manager, perhaps with a venue manager, on ships, particularly with technicians. So there's a real range. All of those efforts are led by a team of project managers. Every client gets assigned a person who's their go-to person, who is really at their beck and call almost 24/7. Sometimes we take weekends off. And that team helps manage everything that the client needs, and then delegates out to different departments within RWS and beyond, whether that's costumes, whether that's casting, to solve issues as they arise, which in live performance, inevitably they do. That's why you do it live.
Well, you've talked a lot about casting, and you mentioned cruise ships, and there's a lot of shows that happen on cruise ships that require a cast. And I'm a huge cruise fan. I've been on a lot of cruises all over the world, and I'm really excited to learn more about your work with MSC Cruise Lines. And I think we have a deck that we can throw up with some images of your work with them, and we can go through that. I'd love to learn more about that. So you can walk us through what we're looking at here.
Great. Paul, I'll hop in, and then I'll hand off to you to talk about the technical work that we did with the show that your team led. So Ibiza Symphonica is one of a trio of immersive nightclub experiences for MSC Europa. It's a brand new ship that was christened just last November. And we were given by MSC really a black box theater, a blank slate, and asked to do something immersive, something innovative in that space. So we designed 3 different shows, all of which engage the audience in different ways. Really, our primary objective in these shows is casting the audience, give them a role, give them a part to play, that they can then play alongside the performers. A really wonderful cast of 10 that involves 2 singers who also are dancers, 4 dancers, 3 specialty performers, and a DJ character. So using that palette of 10 performers, we developed these 3 different projects, one of which is Ibiza Symphonica. In this show, we cast the audience as invited guests on a very fancy yacht docked just off of Ibiza, and you've really been invited to the party of a lifetime. A somewhat hedonistic evening that starts as a sort of a classy gala affair and descends more into fun, a little bit of sexiness, and a little bit of intrigue as the show progresses. So Paul, I'll hand it over to you to talk about what the back end of that show looked like.
So yeah, we had Damien and Monica on a call with us at the start, and they kind of said, we want to create a visual which could make the audience feel like they have the orchestra there with them, but also capture the fine details of these beautiful instruments which people are playing, along with somehow putting that together with visuals that feel like you're in a club. So that was a really fun kind of brief for us to start with, and we worked through. One of the first ideas we came up with was, how can we take the show kind of feeling like you're from the Café Del Mar kind of sunset era right down through, and we go back through to morning essentially, and then we start the party all over again. So that was one of the first kind of concepts we came up with and worked through. Damien had shared some videos of one of the Lana Del Rey music videos and was like, I love the inspiration of the way they filmed the orchestra with a kind of backlit shadow. So from the pictures you can see, if you skip back to the first picture for me, you can see that we set up with the orchestra, and this ended up actually being a full kind of left and right shot of the orchestra with this beautiful shadow on the background, which in the post has a real enhanced feel to it. These were then merged with the different visuals you can see on the green screens, and then put into an environment with different club style visuals. So you've got these lovely visuals of the instruments being played in these different backgrounds, and then they're merged, as I said, with these wonderful backgrounds, which kind of really give you the energy of the music that was within this project. If you go on to the next picture, please. You can kind of see there from the picture how the orchestra integrated with the live performance and kind of fits all together with the different lighting to really give that club feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should mention this was about 30 feet high LED screen that makes up one entire wall of the venue. So when you're in this venue, it's so present. But beyond that, it's a very simple venue. So it's really a focal point. And the artistic challenge to all of these projects, which Paul's team managed so beautifully, is that you still want the focus to be on the performers who are live in the room.
Sure.
And so you have to figure out, how do we complement that live performance with something on the screens? How do we make those things work in tandem?
Yeah, we never wanted them to feel like they come fully out of the screen and take away from our live performance, as Monica said. And you can kind of see that as we move through the show to the green screen backgrounds and the black screen backgrounds, where they kind of merge nicely in there. So you can see some of the detail on the right and left of those performers, that you can see those details of the instruments being played, the violins, the flutes, etc. But again, it's got that feel to keep that real high tempo, fun feel throughout the show.
Yeah, integrating those big LED screens onto a stage like that is really tricky and has to be done just right.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with this, and I think the main part for us, which just really kind of set this apart, was integrating the two together. We've done orchestra shows where we have them backing a show before digitally. We've done great VFX visuals, but actually slotting those two together was a real kind of fun challenge for us at the start, and one of the bits that excited us most about kind of getting that right. We had to do a lot of work on the ship as well. One of our senior designers went out just to kind of make sure it all fitted together perfectly. And we made sure light changes happened to make sure things during the show fitted with the lighting design when we were on there, and that was quite a fun challenge to get those two to work perfectly together, so everything feels like it's happening in the same space.
Yes, as was managing all of the file management for a project that large. Something that always comes up on ships that I guess I didn't really anticipate until I found myself on one. You get very old school with hand delivering hard drives and that sort of thing. So.
With a lot of these venues as well, the files, to make sure the quality is the best it can possibly be, we're using the top kind of file exports, so that really made sure that we had the quality on board. But as Monica said, a nightmare, because each file could be 8 or 9 gigabytes big just
right.
for one part of the one song in the show as it flows through. So that's definitely a challenge which we come across a lot with all our different clients at sea, and we find different ways to make sure that's out there and delivered and working perfectly.
Well, I think another unique thing, and Randy, maybe you want to touch on this too, with our collaboration and partnership with MSC, we really have reimagined some of their attractions on board, which I know we don't have a picture of today. But Randy, do you kind of want to bring that to life a little bit?
Are you talking about the KUKA?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the things was, trying to come up with a whole new show and experience, but using a KUKA arm. So we have this entire basically ride mechanism using the KUKA arm into a screen, but then also being able to turn the guests around and see out across the ocean. So it's this kind of wild ride media combination using a KUKA arm as the device, as the ride vehicle, and really one of the first times ever used on a ship. So pretty cool stuff. So it just kind of uses some of our experience in building these permanent exhibits or ride mechanisms, and then trying to find a way to make that work on board.
That's great.
Well, I should also mention before we move on, with MSC, we also have lounge-based shows that are more of, I hesitate to say traditional because they're very fun and very exciting, and I think that word sometimes can put us in a different mindset. But proscenium-based shows in lounge settings with a degree of guest interactivity, as well as circus-based shows on MSC Meraviglia. So really across the fleet, there's a whole variety of projects that we work on, and these are just a sample. There's all sorts.
Well, that's great. Well, it's funny when I saw your title have land at the end of it. I was like, what kind of land? And now I know land, sea. Do you have an air department as well? Land, sea, air, and space?
Not yet.
Okay. So that's all coming together. So speaking of the land, you also do seasonal events such as haunts, and so I'd love to just talk about that. Maybe this could be to Kevin to speak on of harnessing your strengths of all your live entertainment and then offering that into creating haunt and attraction experiences.
Yeah, I can start this and let Monica and even Paul and Randy chime in as well, because this is one of the worlds that we've seen a lot of collaboration happening with all of our companies, which is really exciting, especially for me. I started creating Halloween experiences in my mom's yard when I was like 10 years old, and now I'm developing all these fantastic haunted experiences with the team here and the team around the globe. I think one of the things that's very cool about what we are doing in the haunt world is, we say the word immersive a lot. What I think the team does really well is create authenticity in the world of haunt, which really increases and raises that level of fear, if you will, when we're going into these environments, because they are very real. One of the things we talk about is how we activate the 5 senses within Halloween. My favorite is obviously smell, because we get to play with a lot of different smelly effects that you normally don't. But we also provide that 6th sense of human engagement. So it's really about focusing that overall story. And we're also about moments of surprise and delight too. So one of the things that I think is challenging with Halloween environments in theme parks is the conga line. So you're not always willing to provide that element of scare you might be used to in a haunted environment that is not worried about getting all of their guests through each night. But I think we've managed some very clever ways over the past couple years on how to achieve a heightened level of fear. One is a choose your own destiny. So there's multiple paths throughout the haunted house, so you could go through 2 or 3 times and have a different experience, and even get split up by your group. The other that we have experimented with is secret rooms within the haunted houses. We're always looking at that ROI piece of things. So having that kind of VIP ticket, if you will, allows you access into secret rooms. We've also integrated speakeasy experiences within the haunts, some at the beginning and some at the middle, as well as some at the end, which have been very, very successful in increasing the guest experience and bringing that ROI to our partners too. Monica?
Sure. Well, one of the things I love the most as a creator about haunts is the constraints that actually are present within them. And then those get doubled when you start dealing with IP-based haunts. We're working on 2 different IP-based haunt projects right now that are both going to debut this fall. So all of those technical challenges, all of those ways you have to work within the IP, they really force you to think creatively in a different way. It's very technical to design a haunt and lay out the floor plan in just a way that it's going to support the creative story that you're trying to tell. So that's been really rewarding for me as a creative lead on these projects, is how hand in hand we have to work with the entire team. And again, on these two projects I've just mentioned, these are global projects. So we're working with folks from TED, we're working with folks from RWS, we're bringing in the casting department and figuring out how do we, okay, take a step forward with the creative. Okay, now let's take a step forward with the technical design. Okay, now that leads to a creative choice. And kind of going back and forth, it's really fun and I find very rewarding. I will say that with IP as well, there's this. It's a structured imagination that we have to use in order to be faithful to those properties, and that of course has its own series of challenges, some of which are just timeline. Paul, do you want to talk a bit about how we've worked together on some of the media design and the audio?
Yeah, I know, Paul, kind of before you jump in, I know Monica's teasing these IP haunts that we're working on. Unfortunately, I can't go further than the tease, but there's a couple really exciting films that we're bringing to life, both in the States and over in Europe this year, which we're pretty excited about.
So one of the things we've found really exciting about working on these is probably the opposite to Mono, which is the constraints, and obviously there is, but for us it's kind of like letting us run wild with supporting those through audio. And that's not just score and music, that is trying to create those feels within these experiences to make you feel very uneasy, very, very shocked in some aspects, and also then enhance that with a musical score. One of our aims really with this is to kind of push it to make you feel like you're in the film. So you've got those sound effects around you, really kind of enhancing the whole experience that Kevin said about having, making sure we kind of go through all the different senses. The ear for us is one of the most engaging on our side, and just really kind of can make you feel so uneasy. We're working on one now, and the zone 3 of it. One of our guys, we walked into the room and I had to walk out. I just generally felt uneasy with the sound it created. And you just know when you're immersed in that experience, it's going to really, really enhance that whole feeling across it. And then the score just really backs that up, makes us kind of feel like we're within that world of that IP and that movie at the times we're in there. And we've created some really cool scores. So hopefully when you see that we've been involved in these, you can go and experience them and have a great time.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I was muted. Well, that's awesome. I mean, full disclosure, I'm a composer and sound designer as well, so that's a really interesting aspect of the experience for me. I've worked on a lot of haunts and horror movies and things like that. I'm also working on a haunted dark ride as well right now, so it's all a lot of fun. So yeah, I love doing stuff like that. Making people feel uneasy. I've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, building up those atmospheres is so great, isn't it? It's just layer upon layer of different sounds, making it feel discordant, and just that feeling really, really has been a great fun. And one of the things that actually for TED RWS has introduced, so where we see the kind of collaboration there between us, that's definitely the different projects they brought and said, hey, we're going to be doing this, can you do the sound for that? And we're like, absolutely we can, this is going to be great fun. And we've really enjoyed working with the guys, Damien and Monica, on these experiences so far.
Well, it's great. I mean, I think that's a really great segue into the next question, which is RWS is this big collection of companies now. How have you managed to integrate all the companies into a whole while maintaining the creative and historical integrity of the individual companies and all the stories of their careers and projects, bring that to the table and still maintain the identity and the new global identity?
That's a great question. I think that there's a few clients that I think will be great examples for this. But at the end of the day, we haven't lost anyone's identity. And I think Monica said it earlier, we're not one size fits all. So we're very much about working and collaborating with our partners and our clients to do what feels best. We don't want to be the kitchen sink. We definitely want to be partners. And, we like to call our companies and clients that we work with our friends and our family. Most of them are. So when Monica says we're working 24 hours, it's probably true, because sometimes that's at a restaurant having dinner and learning about each other. One client that I think we've had some rich history with, both at JRA and RWS, is Santa's Village, which is a great example. And now TED is being brought into that fold and developing some new merchandise opportunities with them as well. But, at the end of the day, we're a people business, and it's about the people at RWS. It's about the people at TED. It's about the people at JRA. It's about the people at ARC, and that's never going to change. We like to have fun. It's in our core values, and when we say raise your experience as our mission, it truly is. And when you're in the field, you see it, and you see the passion that is really coming out of all of our team members and talent.
I think one of the biggest things when you join forces with people is that first kind of engagement of how you work together. And you always wonder as creatives, are they going to think differently? Are they going to think in a different way to us and go on a different trajectory? And actually, one of the most refreshing things I've found about working with everyone we have at all the companies so far is that everyone's on that kind of same wavelength, and whatever we're doing, and there's different opinions, everything seems to just fit really naturally together, which I think is rare. And I think that's one of the things that definitely our owner at TED originally, Robin, felt when he was talking to Ryan, in the sense of actually we fit really well together. We work together as a global entity, and it's gonna be exciting. And definitely from our side, that's all we felt so far. It's just kind of worked really nicely. Everything's felt really natural in the way we've been able to collaborate with each other. And I think we're seeing some amazing work coming out of that so far.
Yeah, as we get to know each other better across the global team, it's so nice to be able to just say, hey, I need a little help. Can we brainstorm about this? I need a hand with some copy. Can I pull you in for a couple hours? And that's been happening a lot lately. And I really love it, because not only do we get to see what everyone else is working on, but we also get to learn about different processes and sort of learn from best practices. For instance, JRA's process is so different from the one I've been steeped in as more of a writer performer, someone really focused on performance. So it's so exciting to get to see projects at the very beginning stages and think, just as Randy was saying, how can we fit these things together at the inception point?
Yeah, and for us, it's like we say we just walk down the hall to get an idea, even if somebody's not working on our project. It's like, hey, Monica, we're trying to do this thing. We don't know if it really works. What do you think? We're trying to bounce ideas around, because, a lot of times, I'm working on these massive master plans, and I've got one little box that represents a show. I want to know if that really works or not. And so we start to get down into some of the more, it's in advance of the detail that we need, but it really helps kind of form that. And it makes me feel more confident in what we're presenting. So that's been super helpful for us.
So just to add in a question, so there have been a lot of companies in the news, the industry news, kind of combining and being acquired and all that, and all you coming together. There's people have different paces, people have different processes. As a public service announcement for having gone through that, do you have any words of wisdom or advice you'd give to other people who are maybe in the middle of that, or maybe not hit with that, but they may face that in the future? that you may give as advice on how to sync up?
Patience is definitely a key word. I mean, with growth, inevitably comes change, right? And it's not like RWS came in and was like, these are the policies and the procedures that we're going to maintain. It's been a very collaborative approach to growth. And like you mentioned, there are definitely a lot of companies out there combining. Some are getting some large investments as well, which has sped their growth, like Fever, for example, right? And the growth that we've seen from them. But I think patience and trust, like have patience and trust the process, I think is very important.
I think listening to each other is just so valuable as well. Like when I first got on a call with Monica and Damien to talk about the Ibiza Symphonica, they generally felt like they listened to us and what we had to bring to the table, rather than just saying, we want an orchestra, we want visuals, we want this, we want that. What would you do here? And I think that developed those relationships really quickly to be able to work together and collaborate. And yeah, definitely, if you can listen to each other, you're going to get a better idea and a better structure within any kind of entity.
Yeah, and reaching out. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and we are always building teams. We were always building teams, whether we were connected to another company or not. And so every project had a different set of consultants, architects, engineers. We've show designers. We've had all these things coming in. One thing that I've learned is we just keep reaching out, ask questions. Admit that you don't know something, get in there and get help from everybody, because the bigger group makes us that much stronger. And everybody's been really willing to jump in and help out and kind of play creatively as we work on these projects.
Everyone's really said this also beautifully. All I'm going to add is figure out how you're going to share files. Surprisingly, a very big deal. But that goes for really all of the sort of like the technical processes and all of that back end stuff that you kind of don't think about when you've been in the same organization for a long time. And then suddenly you're part of a cross-functional team or a cross-company team. You go, whoa, how are we, what are the tools we're using to collaborate? So it's been fun to learn about new tools, and it's been a challenge to figure out which tools are we going to use. But yeah, it's a surprisingly big part of things I think about as a team leader.
Mm.
Well, at TETV, we have a real great team of volunteers and artists and technicians and stuff like, Charlie and CJ you met earlier, our producers. And, Patrick and I started the show way before TETV even existed back in 2023 or 2020. And the way we met was at the 2010 Thea Awards, where I was the music director, and I've been the music director on and off for the Thea Awards for 20 years now. And last year with the show that you guys produced, you guys came in and produced this year's show, rather, I mean. And that was an interesting experience for me to sit and watch someone else produce our show. And it was a lot of fun. You guys did a really great job. And I'd love to hear how it came about that you guys produced the Theas and how you accomplished that.
Monica, I think this is
I was going to give it to you to tell the origin story. And then...
I can start with the origin. I think, okay. We've been talking a lot about companies, us joining forces and stuff. Obviously, we had a great relationship with them, but JRA really had a very strong relationship with that organization and association, with Keith James, obviously, being awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award. Clara Rice, our Global Director of Marketing, sitting on the board there as well. we really began to evaluate one, the positives that we had with IAPA in producing that for a couple years, and open the door for conversation with their board and their leadership team, and the rest kind of just everything fell into place, and then Monica and the team brought it to life, really.
So what was really fun about working on the THEAs this year is that our agreement with the TEA is actually for 2 years of producing the THEAs. So we knew that we were going to have an opportunity to make some changes and explore some new ideas in 2023. And then that we'd also get the opportunity in 2024 to likely take the event to a new venue and explore even further. So we looked at 2023 as sort of phase one of that, of figuring out what do people really love about the THEAs and what are things that maybe they love less. So we did a lot of listening. We talked to board members, we talked to members across the country. We worked very closely with Lindsay Nelson and Melissa Rumino, doing just a lot of active listening. What does this show need to be? And one of the things we really heard from everyone is this should feel like the Oscars of themed entertainment. So that's really the perspective that informed our scenic design, which you see here. We wanted it to feel really luxe and really glamorous. And so we also wanted to bring a live band into the show, which it's had on and off over the years. And we thought, well, the stage is actually a little tougher than we thought it was going to be to work on. So why not make the band kind of a focal point of the show and bring them on stage, lean into this kind of old school, classic, almost like late night show look. The band chorales that they have on late night shows were definitely an inspiration. And okay, let's use that as the stage to really showcase people in the industry who maybe don't always get a lot of credit. That's another huge thing that we heard from everyone we talked to, and that we started bringing into the design and the scripting of the show this year, and that we'll double down on even more next year. So a really simple moment that we wrote into the script was when Melissa was on stage welcoming everyone, having everyone pick up their program book, which is one of the only places where all of the collaborators that work on a THEA winning project are listed. And she invited people to really take a look at all of those names, all of the different people. And then she recognized people in the room who have been involved in projects, no matter how big or how small. And so that was just one small way that we tried to bring the heart into this show and really make that the focus. So the theme for the evening was being earnest, being warm. And based on the feedback I've gotten from people, I think we did it. But really letting go of everything else and just focusing on how do we inspire those feelings in our guests.
Well, that's great. Well, yeah, Andy and I were fortunate enough to attend the show, and actually we were able to do a little bit of a red carpet live coverage. So you all were, I don't want to say scrambling, but just doing that, last minute preparation. We were out in the lobby having some fun too. So it seemed to work out pretty well. And I definitely I did work on a THEA award-winning project, so it was fun to be able to kind of raise your hand or stand up and recognize yourself in the moment. And sometimes that you don't get a chance to really do that. So that's a nice touch.
Well, congratulations.
No, yeah. I want to it's everybody else really, that comes to make a project go together. So it looks like you're going to be working on the show. We know that there's a new location,
yep.
Which is exciting. There's a lot of buzz about that. So we're looking forward to see how it all adapts. And then you also mentioned, IAPA. Is there anything you want to talk about in regards to IAPA and the different involvement there?
Yeah, very similar process, really. A lot of listening with the client, and the folks at IAPA are very, very involved in the production of all of the events that take place on that IAPA stage. I love this picture.
Right, just
that's awesome.
Commenting.
So Yeah, very, very collaborative. I think whereas the TEA, they had in mind more what are the feelings we want to inspire, what are the things that matter to us. The folks at IAPA have more of I'd say sort of a concrete vision of what should it look like. So we worked together with them to develop a scenic design that would support that vision. One of the things that our scenic designer, Dan Russo, brought in were these screens. They're from a vendor called Stretch Shapes, and they are stretchy, sort of like spandex screens that fit over a truss frame. We went with that option because we knew they'd be quick to install. There's a very quick turnaround time with the installation of these events, and that they'd be easy to store. That is actually not, Patrick's asked if this is the brass rings. This is actually the opening ceremony of IAPA, not the brass ring awards. I believe that's where we attempted to set a Guinness World Record for the most simultaneous confetti cannons launched.
Wow.
It was truly wild. I have some pictures of the cleanup, which I think are on my LinkedIn, which are pretty hysterical. So this was something that, for instance, this is something that IAPA brought to us and said, hey, we want to do this, set this Guinness World Record, help us make it happen. So we had to work on the technical side, on the writing side, to figure out how to facilitate that for the client. Another thing we facilitated was getting someone up on stilts on the stage and having a rider on the shoulders of someone walking on stilts. So an actually fairly complicated circus stunt. And we had to do a lot of safety planning and planning with a number of different partners to help make that happen during the event as well. So really an exercise in managing many different events simultaneously and building a set and building a sort of a production structure that would support that.
Well, that's great. Well, appreciate you being a part of the industry inside and out, right? And being a part of these industry events, these world-class events, which is great to see. Well, we're getting close to the end here of our hour together. We have 4 of you on the show, and once again, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your days to speak about your process, a little bit of a hints for the future, and all the fun things that you're up to. We have a lot of people out here who watch the show. And is there anything that maybe you just would give out? What would you want your fellow peers to know about yourselves, or any advice you may have? So maybe that's for people who are trying to break in the industry. Maybe it's just your industry colleagues who maybe feeling a little bit down, anything like that. Kevin, you seem like a pretty effervescent guy. Why don't we start with you? Any words of wisdom out to the world?
When in doubt, glitter it out, be remarkable, and always sparkle is what I like to say. Have fun, meet people, and never burn a bridge. It's a small industry. We're all going to work together, and really, truly, it's a people business. And whether you work with people today, you might work with them in 10 or 15 years. But my motto is have fun.
That's great. How about over to Paul?
For me, I think you've always got to look at why you started working in this industry. I started by walking into a music studio at college and going, wow, that is what I want to do. And I remind myself of that all the time. Worked with some fantastic people producing music and audio across the years. And I just remind myself that every day, listen back to old things that I've done. And I think that can really keep you motivated for where you want to go next in your career, but keeping true to yourself and making sure that you are, doing it for the right reasons. We work in an industry which, I don't think in the 15 years I've worked for TED, I've really ever felt like, I've worked a day in my life. I've always been creating amazing concept shows, in production. So for me, that's something which I think is really key for us to be lucky about. We work in this, this industry. And yeah, got to keep true to that for me.
That's great. Thanks, Paul. Over to Randy.
Yeah, I mean, have fun. I mean, this work we do is a gift. You know, we're lucky to get to play in this amazing toy box that we get to play in. Remind your colleagues every day that they need to have fun as well. I mean, when we start getting too serious about stuff, you know, we're probably going the wrong way. You know, our guests are coming to visit our attractions because they want to have fun. So we better keep that spirit in there all the time. Yeah.
Great. And Monica, any parting words of wisdom?
Yeah, never forget that we do this for an audience, and you just don't know how things will shape someone's life and how an experience in themed entertainment could really change your life. And that's a real gift to be able to work in that kind of a field and give those kind of experiences to other people.
That's great. Well, you know, you talked about a lot of things that you all do, and there's probably a lot of people watching, you know, who may want to follow or get involved with your companies. So what should people do if they either have a project they want to collaborate with you on, or maybe they want to work for you? What's the best way to stay in touch? Maybe that's to Kevin on that front.
Yeah, well, all of our careers and audition opportunities are on our global website, which is rwsglobal.com. Definitely follow us all on our social media channels. LinkedIn is definitely more business to business and how we're growing synergies, whether on RWS Global or JRA or TED or the RWS LinkedIn. And our Facebook and Instagrams are definitely more about our talent and technician opportunities. I'm an open door, so you can email me if you want to work with me, or if you have questions. My email is kcresco@rwsglobal.com. You can also send me a LinkedIn message, and I can funnel you to the powers that be, or if I don't have an answer, I will find it out for you.
That's great. I really appreciate you putting that out there for people, because I think that's always one of the big questions. Like, well, we people who watch the show, it's like, okay, this is all well and good, and I love hearing all your perspectives, but how do I get in touch with these people? And I appreciate you taking an extra step.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, with that, for those of you that who are on the show, if you don't mind just hanging on just for a moment until after we close it out, we can do a little after discussion. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone out there, whether we're in your ears on our podcast or watching later on down the line or watched live. We'll be back in a little bit with Donnelly Williams, like we said, on the 24th. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone.
Thanks so much.